It. You thought Pennywise was just a monster haunting one town, but some fans believe the clown was only a fragment of something much older. Children disappear in Derry. Storm drains. Balloons floating through empty streets. Bill loses his brother Georgie. Soon the Losers Club begins seeing the same clown, sometimes smiling, sometimes monstrous. The creature feeds on fear. At first it looks like a single monster hiding beneath the town, but readers studying Stephen King's wider universe notice something strange. Pennywise speaks about the Deadlights, a cosmic form beyond human understanding, and similar cosmic beings appear in the Dark Tower books. For years, fans wondered if the creature in It might be connected to that larger universe. And this is where the theory becomes canon. Stephen King's own lore confirms the connection. Confirmed in It and the Dark Tower series, Stephen King describes Pennywise as an ancient extra-dimensional being whose true form exists beyond reality. The Deadlights represent that cosmic form beyond human perception. Later, Dark Tower books introduce similar cosmic entities that exist outside the normal universe. And once fans saw the cosmic pattern, another one became impossible to ignore. Because the next theory suggests those powers might all come from the same source. The Shining. You thought Danny Torrance was just psychic, but some fans believe his ability connects to a much larger pattern across Stephen King's universe. Danny sees ghosts inside the Overlook Hotel, the Grady twins, blood flooding the hallway, visions of murder before it happens. Dick Halloran explains the ability. He calls it the Shine. At first it sounds like a rare psychic gift, but similar abilities appear across many Stephen King stories. Children sensing danger, characters reading thoughts, people glimpsing the future. Fans began connecting the pattern. Maybe the Shine wasn't random, and this is where the Shine reveals a pattern. It appears across Stephen King's universe.
Red.
Supported in The Shining, Dr. Sleep, and the wider mythology explored in the Dark Tower series, Stephen King's canon repeatedly features characters with powerful psychic abilities. Examples include Carrie White in Carrie, Johnny Smith in The Dead Zone, and Danny Torrance in The Shining. In the Dark Tower books, individuals with strong psychic abilities are extremely important because their powers can influence the balance surrounding the tower. While the Shine itself is never officially labeled as a Dark Tower power, the pattern of psychic individuals across these stories strongly supports the idea that they belong to the same broader psychic framework. And once powers like that exist, someone will try to control them, because the next story reveals a secret organization doing exactly that. Firestarter. You thought Charlie McGee was just the victim of a government experiment, but her powers might be part of a much larger psychic pattern across Stephen King's universe. Charlie can start fires with her mind, small sparks, then explosions, entire rooms burning instantly. Her father has psychic abilities too. Both gained their powers after taking an experimental drug. Soon, a secret organization begins hunting them. The agency calls itself The Shop. Agents track Charlie, capture her, study her powers. At first, it looks like a simple government conspiracy, but fans notice something familiar. Powerful psychic individuals appear again and again in King's universe. Carrie White, Danny Torrance, Johnny Smith. And this is where the powers stop being random. They appear across Stephen King's universe. Supported in Firestarter, Carrie, The Shining, and the psychic ability themes explored in the Dark Tower series. Stephen King frequently portrays individuals with powerful mental abilities across his novels. These characters appear in different stories but share similar psychic traits such as telekinesis, precognition, and telepathy. While Firestarter does not directly reference the Dark Tower, the recurring appearance of powerful psychic individuals across these books strongly supports the interpretation that Charlie's powers belong to the same broader phenomenon. But some of the hunters searching for people with those powers aren't even human, because the next story introduces creatures that travel between worlds to capture them. Hearts in Atlantis. You thought the men in yellow coats were government agents, but they might be something far worse. Ted Brodigan moves quietly into a small town. He keeps the curtains closed. He watches the street constantly. He is hiding. Soon, strange men begin appearing. Yellow coats, dark glasses. They distribute flyers asking about Ted. At first they seem harmless, but Ted knows exactly what they are. Fans quickly connected these characters to the Dark Tower universe. They are called Low Men, and this is where the men in yellow coats reveal their true role. They are the Low Men, confirmed in Hearts in Atlantis in the Dark Tower series. The Low Men are servants of the Crimson King who travel between worlds, capturing powerful individuals. Ted Brodigan confirms they are hunting him because of his psychic abilities. And once fans realized creatures could travel between worlds, another familiar face suddenly became far more suspicious. The Stand. You thought Randall Flagg was just a cult leader in a ruined world, but some fans believe he is a villain that exists across multiple realities. After a deadly plague wipes out civilization, survivors begin having dreams. Two figures appear, Mother Abigail and another man, Randall Flagg. He gathers followers, builds an army, spreads chaos, but fans notice something strange. Flagg appears in multiple Stephen King stories, different worlds, different names, Walter, Martin, the Dark Man, but the same sinister personality. And this is where Randall Flagg stops being a single villain. He exists across multiple worlds. Confirmed in the Dark Tower series, the books identify Randall Flagg as a powerful sorcerer who travels between worlds connected to the Dark Tower. He appears under multiple identities, including Walter O'Dim and Martin Broadcloak. And some places seem to attract those forces more than others, as if the barrier between worlds is thinner there. The Derry theory. You thought Derry was just unlucky, but the town itself might be part of the supernatural problem. Murders happen in Derry again and again. Disappearances, explosions, violence, and yet the town continues as if nothing happened. People forget. Authorities ignore the evidence. Fans studying Stephen King's universe notice something strange. Supernatural events happen in Derry far more often than normal. And this is where Derry stops looking like coincidence. The town itself may be unstable. Supported in it and the cosmology described in the Dark Tower series. The Dark Tower books describe certain places as thin spots, areas where the boundaries between worlds become unstable. Derry is never officially labeled as one. However, the unusually high concentration of supernatural events strongly supports the interpretation that the town behaves like one. Reality itself may simply be weaker there. And if monsters keep crossing between worlds, someone may be sending them, someone powerful enough to command them. The Crimson King. You thought the monsters in Stephen King stories were unrelated, but some fans believe many of them serve the same master. Across Stephen King's universe, powerful supernatural beings appear. Pennywise, Randall Flagg, the Low Men. At first they seem like separate horror stories, but the Dark Tower books introduce a central antagonist, the Crimson King. And this is where the monsters start looking connected. They may all serve the same master. Confirmed in the Dark Tower series, the Crimson King is one of the central antagonists attempting to destroy the Dark Tower and collapse reality. Multiple creatures and agents across the multiverse serve his interests, a war against reality itself. And that war ultimately revolves around a single structure, the one thing holding every world together. The Dark Tower. You thought these stories were separate horror films, but some fans discovered they were always part of the same universe. The Dark Tower stands at the center of existence. Every world, every timeline connected to it. Fans spent decades connecting clues across Stephen King's stories. Shared characters, shared powers, shared villains. And this is where the theory becomes canon. Stephen King confirmed the connection. King has described the Dark Tower as the central axis of his fictional universe. Many of his stories connect to the tower through shared characters, locations, and mythology. The monsters, the psychic powers, the recurring villains, they were never random. They were always pieces of the same universe. Every nightmare belongs to the same world, and the tower stands at the center of it all.